Guys, welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on a glorious Monday here in the United States of America. We're in the Commonwealth of Virginia, in a city we love dearly, Charlottesville, Virginia, and we are going to celebrate and champion Independence Day, which is tomorrow, a day that means so much to so many in this country, but a day undoubtedly that is held very close to the heart for Yonna Smith. She is on set. You will see her in a matter of moments here. Today's program presented by Yes Realty Partners. I think after you watch today's show and get a glimpse of what Yonna is all about and the distinguished gentleman Keith Smith, you will realize why Yes Realty Partners has had so much success in real estate. Trust, integrity, character, under-promising, and over-delivering. Yes Realty Partners embodies all those qualities. Judah Wickhauer, the studio camera, as we welcome the Smiths to the show with many of your colleagues watching you right now. Keith and Yonna, good Monday morning.
Good Monday morning to you. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th
Almost
to you.
Happy 4th.
So very excited.
Very much so. I heard all about lots of fireworks happening, lots of celebrations, parades, boat rides. So it's wonderful. It's nice to be part of all of these celebrations again.
Absolutely. Keith Smith, this day means quite a bit to you. Once a Marine, always a Marine, my friend.
Semper Fi.
Semper
right.
Fi.
This is a very special time of the year for Yonna and I. First and foremost, thank you, Shotzi, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Would not want to miss it.
You're my better everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So this is a pretty special thing. We're going to kick it off a little bit, talk about what Yonna and I do every year tomorrow, and that is to go to the naturalization ceremony at Monticello. If you're interested, go ahead and Google it on Monticello. The way they work it is you've got to take a bus from PVCC up, so it's for free, but you've got to get a ticket to get on the bus to go do that. And I'll just kick the show off with this and let Yonna talk about how special today is to her. If you're ever wondering what it is to be an American, or you think maybe we've lost our way a little bit about what it means to be an American, you need to go to one of these ceremonies.
Very much so, yeah.
Because at the end of it, the judge, so it's an actual federal court held open air, it's the oldest standing continuous nationalization ceremony in the United States. And at the end, the judge asks all the folks that are becoming U.S. citizens to tell their story. And they get up and they tell their story, and generally there's not a dry eye in the house. They talk about their trips, what it took to get from wherever they were to this particular day. And for Yonna, that wasn't a short trip. That took you about 18 years, right? To go ahead
Roughly.
and get your U.S. citizenship. So if you're kind of questioning things, do yourself a favor. Go there and watch it. You won't regret it. It'll be a lot of fun. So.
And it's very, I would say, inspiring to see and motivational to see, because you hear a lot of folks kind of questioning the American spirit and really what the pursuit of happiness really is all about. And I have to tell you, when you go up there, it gives me chills just to think about it. And we've been doing this for, I would say, 20 years now, roughly about 20 years. And every year we go up there, there is just one or two stories that kind of reconfirm and reaffirm why you're doing what you're doing every day. And never to give up hope. That's the other thing. Never to give up hope. Be as courageous as you can. And truly there is, Brian Buffini used to say that the American streets are paved with gold. Naturally, you have to find that gold, but there is opportunities for you.
There's a little blacktop on top of it.
There's a little bit. There is opportunities for you that they're just unrivaled, And to this day, I can tell you that I wake up every day and I say thank you for the blessings that I have to be here, really.
Put in perspective the country, our country, the freedom, why you pursued freedom here. I think often of my mom and my grandparents from Cuba, who left everything in Cuba to come here from an upper middle class life to poverty. for the sole purpose of liberty and freedom and not being murdered by a communist regime? Put it in perspective from your standpoint.
I can only tell you that, we both were stationed in Bulgaria, and this was way before the Iron Curtain came down. And just the fact, obviously I was at that time still in my 20s and probably not quite mature enough to really kind of grasp the severity of what was going on as far as freedom is concerned. But think about it. These folks were not allowed to voice their opinion or be somewhat friendly with us. They were not allowed to fraternize with us, right? Because they were persecuted. Just to put it in,
this wasn't a persecution of you've got, ostracized.
No, they were
you went
really,
to a concentration camp. This was
you
real
did not
stuff.
know. You did not know where these folks ended up in.
Yep.
And this alone, I can tell you that there were many times that we were invited to Bulgarian families, and I can tell you that the most hospitable people you have ever want to meet in your whole life. But in the back of their mind, there was always this sort of sense of uneasiness because they were associated with us or they were friendly with us.
Well, they needed, if they met a Western
Yeah.
person, they needed to report it to the KGB.
So-
You had to report in when you had a conversation. They also knew you did because they followed everybody.
And just to switch this into today's kind of scenario, look what's happening. And I don't want to get political here, but look what's happening in the Ukraine. I stopped watching the news, to be very honest with you, because it's just so appalling. And so that's what I always keep in mind. Is that I can walk out of my front door freely in the morning. I don't need to be afraid of anybody watching me, to the extent that I feel I have to watch what I say, what I do. And it's just, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted.
And that's what you hear when you do these stories from different parts of the world and how they the journey that they took.
Amazing.
From where they are to here. I thought you were going to say is because of me and my dress blues was the whole reason you wanted to come to the United States. I thought that's what you were going to say.
Absolutely.
That wasn't what you were going to say.
Absolutely.
We often
I was in safe hands.
We often talk about the love story. Johnny Ornalis, good
Yes.
morning. He says good morning to
Good morning.
Yonna and everyone. Ray Cadell says good morning, especially Yonna Smith.
Thank you.
We love you, Ray Cadell, when you watch the show. Viewers and
Everybody
listeners,
loves Yonna.
happy Independence Day. Kevin Yancey, good morning from
Good morning.
Waynesboro. Holly
Kevin.
Foster says good morning from
Good morning.
Henrico. I believe she is staying at the Boar's Head today. We are very grateful for the gift that you sent us last week, Holly Foster, to Judah and I. Talk about the love story. This is a beautiful one. Not everyone may be up to date.
I think everybody's heard it to the extent, but it's so. I truly believe that it was meant to be in Sofia, Bulgaria. By the way, and we just happened to meet where else in the bar, and it was the bar that the Marines had at their home,
We got to put that a little bit in context.
and where everybody met. We met, everybody, all the diplomats and everybody met there every Friday.
So you couldn't go out. So
No.
the fraternization thing, if you can mentally picture North Korea, right? That's what this was like back in the Cold War years. So there wasn't a bar that you could go to. There wasn't a local watering hole. So the Marines, which job on top of protection of classified material, property, and personnel, was to entertain. And I learned a very valuable lesson back in those days that, when I'm sitting next to the U.S. ambassador or the French ambassador, and I realized that, man, they put their pants on just like I put my pants on. They're just average people, and I'm as smart as they are, and they ask you your opinion. But I've met Yonna in the bar, right? How we went through all those months without actually meeting each other in a small little community. But we only know each other for 3 months.
We did. We only knew each other for 3 months, and then you rotated out.
I had to rotate out.
Rotated out, and there was truly no, I would say, commitment to the level of, okay, we're going to see each other again or we're not. So
We were pretty continental. We were pretty adult about it.
Well,
we said, look, I'm going to Ottawa, you're staying in Bulgaria, and that was that.
it adds a certain challenge to try to have a long-distance relationship, especially at that
With
time.
no FaceTime.
Yeah.
With no
No
text.
FaceTime, no text.
No text.
Yes.
Limited phone, right?
Limited, very limited phones.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't limited phone. It was
Structured.
It took 6 weeks. So the story is how I asked Yonna to marry me, and our youngest daughter asked me this.
Blows
before
our children away every time.
blew our children away, right? So Yvonne says, so Daddy, how did you ask Mommy to marry you? Now, again, the context was, I'm in Ottawa, Canada. Yonna's in Soviet-controlled Bulgaria,
Right.
in Sofia, Bulgaria. So I called her on the phone and asked her to marry me. You know the story. Everybody knows.
It's
the
a great story.
The
Yeah, it
story.
is.
The ones that listen
It's
to
a
it.
wild one.
So our daughter went, well, that's very unromantic. And I said, whoa, time out. It took me 6 weeks to arrange a phone call. I had to navigate the Soviet phone system, our embassy, because, it's the middle of the Cold War and all this kind of great stuff. And I got it all put together and asked her to marry me. And you can hear the guy smoking a cigarette as I'm asking her to marry me. You just literally hear the person smoking a cigarette. And then when it was all over with, this may or may not be true because I'm adding it to the flavor of the story. He says congratulations and hangs the phone
Well,
up.
the congratulations actually came from the ambassador, because the Austrian ambassador was actually
Is that
standing
someone-
right next to me when he called me. And
That's right, I forgot about that.
He said, oh, we're going to lose you. I said, well, I don't know about that, but I was just asked to marry Keith. And he said, oh, really? Is that how that works? I said, yep, that's how that works. So he said, congratulations.
But I've told you this privately, never said this publicly. Just think about this. 3 months known me. Yonna's too proud to say, not proud, the wrong choice of words. Is too good of a human to pat herself on the back. But she was second in charge at the embassy over there on a track to be an ambassador for her country. Left all that, pregnant, left all that to marry a guy.
Adventure.
To marry a guy.
It's an
that
adventure.
Didn't have a job because I was getting out of the Marine Corps. Had no future. I had a gray van, Ford van. That was it. That was all I
like
had.
it.
That's all I had.
But that's what you do. That's what you do, Keith.
But you left
did.
your family, your country, to come to our country and live with me and then start a life there. We literally had less than nothing.
Yeah.
But left all of that to come on over here. And 37 years later, you go, oh my God. what
No,
was
not
I
really, but
thinking?
that's what wakes me up
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. I never looked back. Never looked back.
It's 37 years.
Not.
Wow.
Are there times when I say maybe I should, I shouldn't? No.
You want to strangle me? Is that what you're doing?
No. It's just one of these things, and that's truly what my belief is. There's a reason why you do certain things in life, and sometimes you just have to trust your guts, trust the journey. And I've been on a wonderful journey. I mean,
But back to the why America, other than my awesome dress blues and
I
apparently
always-
my salesmanship, right?
I think I told you that story many times, that as a child I was exposed to a lot of American music, including George Gershwin, and I think I told that story before. And I must have listened to An American in Paris and the Rhapsody in Blue. I mean, to the point where I think that the LP broke, and I said, I want to go to this country where they play music like that. And I was 7, 8 years old. So little did I know I ended up here.
But it took 18 years.
It took 18 years to get my citizenship.
We had to hire an attorney.
Yep.
Why'd you have to hire an attorney?
Well, it's part of the bureaucracy, I guess, that we
This
were
is
not
not easy.
prepared for, and it's really not easy. So you really have to jump through hoops and have the right people on your side to kind of weed through the bureaucracy end of it. But it was an application process that took almost 24 months, 18 to 24 months. It was ridiculous. But whatever it is, it finally came to pass, and gratefully did at the time when it did.
So Yonna was born in Beirut.
Yeah.
In an American hospital, like a firebombed or bombed a couple of days after she left. So she doesn't have her original birth certificate. Her family had to get out of Beirut. She lived behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah,
So
3 years.
there's a story when we were trying to get your green card, right? You were 2 weeks after giving birth. We were in Montreal, and this kid, because that's what he was, right out of college.
At the embassy.
At the embassy
consulate.
of the consulate in Montreal. So the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa didn't issue green cards. They did that out in Montreal. Thought he caught a communist terrorist
Spy.
in Yonna and was giving her a hard time, and he didn't know who I was and what I did because nobody did. And the story goes, as I told him, I said, "Do you really want to do this?" And he goes, "Yeah." And Yonna, because her hormones were a little bit, was about ready to dive over the table and choke him. I sat him down, went back to the embassy, which was an hour and a half drive in Ottawa. Back in the 80s under Reagan, most of the ambassadors were former military. So this guy was a admiral, Navy admiral.
The ambassador.
Knocked on his door. He goes, "Smitty, what's your problem?" "This is my problem." And he picked up the phone and put a series of 4-letter words together, which I didn't think you could do, and I'm a Marine. And that guy had the green card there within 45 minutes. The story is, it's about who you know. This system, this process of immigration has been screwed up for a very long time. We were very blessed because we were...
I'm not so sure if it's screwed up. I think it's just so bureaucratically heavy that you really need to know somebody who can weed through all this and make it happen for you. But imagine especially, and I do feel for them, for whoever wants to kind of come into this country that does not have the resources or doesn't speak the language. So they need to go through interpreters and all that good stuff. So I was very fortunate in the sense that I was able to communicate and I was able to understand what I needed to do to get the process done.
Multiple people leaving comments here. Jennifer is asking, she lives in North Downtown, does Yonna have family still overseas?
Yes.
And what is their quality of life like? And why do they not make the move if the quality of life is not great here to the United States as well? That's a great question.
You know, that's a very good question that I cannot answer for. First of all, the answer to the first question, Jennifer, is yes, I still have family left. I have 2 sisters, and I have a very, very, very distant aunt. And the reason why they did not make that move, everybody has a different, I would say, belief and a different sense of adventure. And I knew from the very, very beginning that I would not stay in Austria or in Europe at that time, and they just settled in Austria, which is a beautiful country. Like I said, it's my mother country and will always be my mother country. And I, in a way, I have to say, would I make that move now? Maybe not, maybe yes, I don't know. That's probably a question that I've asked my sister. They have their settled life there too as well, and it's a good life.
How about quality of life?
It's just, I cannot speak to that just because of the fact that I haven't lived there for now, 37 years? But I can tell you the quality of life is what you make it.
That's well said. That's so true.
It doesn't make a difference where you live.
Right. It's like, it reminds me of a lot of people that are like, and you're going to really appreciate this because I know you love dogs as much as I do. A lot of people are like, stay away for certain breeds. Like the pit bull breed comes up to mind all the time. It's like, guys, the pit bull is how it's raised.
Absolutely.
The pit bull's quality of life and its demeanor and its temperament is dependent on the home and it's raised within.
It's absolutely.
And it's kind of what you're referencing.
Yeah, it's what you make it.
So let me take this and spin it a little bit a different way. So Yonna is Austrian, right? So she's not Bulgarian. So she was, just to get that out there, she was working for the Austrian government in Bulgaria behind the Iron Curtain.
Which is a neutral country.
Austria is a neutral country. I think the interesting question would be, is the ability for success is way times greater here than it is in Austria. The ability to move, to go upwardly mobile there with little to nothing is a little difficult in Austria, right?
And there is something to say about the American dream, absolutely. And that's I think that probably sort of is a testament to what you're willing to do and how much you're willing to go ahead and really jump into something. I don't think I would have as many opportunities or similar opportunities that I have here back in Austria. I don't think so. I probably would, but it would be probably financially more expensive and or from a bureaucratic standpoint, it probably would be very hard to achieve. However, that's not to say that my family or my sister or my aunt, they're not happy. I'm sure that they're happy in their own right.
But I think Devin, our nephew, has expressed a couple times. So he's younger. He's in his 20s.
Yes.
Right. That
he wants to join the family. He wants to
join the family, but his opportunities to make money is much greater here
Very much so.
than it is.
Yeah,
than
but
it
you
is
also
in
work.
Austria.
You have a different work ethics.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to say about what you want to say, that it's one thing that you have the opportunity to go out and do, find your dream job, and you put 120 hours a week into that. So that's a little bit different in Europe, where as an independent entrepreneur, it's probably a little bit more difficult to do that.
Okay, much more regulated.
Much more regulated. So here at least, it's your own destiny, it's your own journey. At least this is how I feel.
Comments coming in fast
Yes.
and furious for you guys. This is a fantastic comment. Jennifer has got a follow-up on speaking of what Ukraine and Russian war. If Yonna can offer some perspective on that. Kimberly Kraling on a separate Facebook page says, I just looked on the map and Austria is separated by Ukraine just by Slovakia.
Country in between.
Yonna speak to this Ukraine-Russian war and how it's impacting Austria and her family's decision of staying or not staying there?
That's a very good question. So the only thing that I can say is that Austria always has been a transient country for refugees. That goes back hundreds and thousands of years. So the impact that we feel from the war is the refugees, the amount of refugees. But this was not any different than when the Syrian invasion happened. This was not any different when there was the war in Serbia, in the Balkan, in the 90s. So we've always been a transient country for refugees, and we are neutral. So therefore, we do not have a military force, in a sense that probably we could defend our borders if need be, but we do not have, in a sense of the United States, we do not have military that is able to be sent to a country in order to defend that country. That would also be breaking the charter of Austria, the neutrality. I can tell you that the last time I was home, which was in October of last year, was the first time in 5 years I was home, you could definitely sense the desperation of these refugees coming in, just because of the fact that
They're running for their lives, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
But there's also...
They have absolutely, they really, where are they going?
Right.
Where are they going? So we were trying, what the last that I heard is we're trying to be sort of the in-between between countries and offer them food, shelter.
Safe haven.
And safe haven, at least for now, so they're not being persecuted.
It's the middle of the summer right now.
Yes.
But that war did impact gas prices heating prices,
humongous.
electric prices.
Let's put that in perspective
So
here.
I think that's probably where the question is going.
I think she's asking all the above. And another follow-up from Christoph has said, how has the nomadic nature of the Austrian borders with folks coming into it impacted Austrian culture? That's a hell of a question.
This is a very good question because of the fact that, but to answer the question number one, the impact that all of this had was utility and fuel prices quadrupled. So what happened also, that put a big burden on the Austrian population that lives there, right? I mean, my sister's gas bill literally tripled in a matter of 8 weeks, 2 months. So it's a big impact, financial impact also on the Austrian government. And so there's obviously behind the scene, Austria was always and has always been sort of the behind the scene diplomatic, I would say, courier, right? So they are trying behind the scene to really be somewhat of a middleman, mediator, in a sense that they're hoping that they bring some of these people together so they can start talking about peace rather than continuing the war.
Well said. Well said. Keith, jump in.
Yeah, it does impact, right? So
absolutely.
The fuel prices,
Yeah.
and I think there is some historical fear there, particularly in the rural areas up towards Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, and all that stuff of the Russians, right? Mm-hmm. Historically, if you go back and dig into the history, it's not very kind relationship between the Russians and that Central European. So I think part of the question is some of your conversations with your relatives, are they fearful that that's coming back, or they feel pretty safe from that perspective?
So I can tell you that I've had this conversation with my sister quite often, and
how do you guys communicate?
WhatsApp.
Nice.
WhatsApp, FaceTime,
Okay.
And so we really have a weekly.
I'm going to change it. It used to never be like that.
No.
We used to get like $1,200, $1,400
phone bills.
Phone bills.
Yeah, so that thankfully has
back in
changed.
the day when you actually had to call
Use the
somebody.
phone, yeah.
Yeah,
Use
absolutely.
Use the phone. So
That's
thank
amazing.
you very much.
Your daughter's watching in Seattle. She has comments, but
Yes.
but finish your thought here.
So to really answer the question, I'm sure that there's some fear, but at the same time, my sister she always knows she has a place she can go to.
Which is your house. How much is that flight?
Oh, you said the rent? Rent's not too bad.
I think it's in the
What's our deal?
$1,300 right now.
One way?
No, it's
Round trip?
a round trip. Yeah.
That's a nice chunk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It used to be $500-600. No, it's.
So look,
But at the same time, we're really trying to go ahead and. So they're trying to make it work with as much as they can possibly have to work with. Is there amount of fear? I'm sure that there is. I mean, let's put it bluntly. We're such a small country. What is it? The size of Texas?
No,
Size of Virginia?
no. Yeah,
Size of Virginia?
Austria
So
is
if anybody-
geographically the same size as Virginia and has roughly same people, about 6 million.
6 million.
6
6,
million
7.
people.
If anybody wanted to go ahead and come in, they would come in. They have come in before.
They have
will
done
come in
this
again.
before.
There's a ton of comments coming in.
Thank
Let's get to your daughter here in Seattle.
Yes, this is Ivani.
Yeah?
Hi, Yvonne.
She's soon moving
To
to
Richmond.
Richmond, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're
21
I'm
days.
flying back with her.
21 days, but you're not counting, right?
No, I'm
21
not.
days.
Oh, I see my grandchild again.
I'm flying back with her on the 20th of July.
20th. Okay, so it's 17 days.
So she says this,
Sure.
Mom, I remember you studying for your citizen test and
Yes.
attending your ceremony. I'm very proud of you. Can you
Thank you.
tell me more about what you had to pay to get to have your citizenship, and how do you think that has changed today? She said, have fun with that loaded question. And then she also says,
Love you,
that
Eva.
is very romantic, so it was just unexpected.
Oh, the phone call? I think this was a millennial thing, not having a perspective of history and what it was at that particular point in time. I mean, these were landlines.
What, you're saying making the phone call to propose?
physically what was required to do that. I mean, I needed to go through, not to get into, I had to go through Langley, I had to go through the State Department, I had to get approval from our governments to call into a communist country. So I had to do that first. Then once I got that figured out, then I had to figure out how am I actually going to physically make the phone connection to go ahead and do that. And that process took about 6 weeks.
But you did it through the embassies.
Well, that's my point. My point was
I guess the romance was the hoops that you had to jump through and the effort to get to the call.
Thank you.
That was the romance, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And I was lucky because I was in the system, right?
Can you imagine not being part of the
I
system?
literally had, open doors.
If he wasn't truly madly in love, probably would not have jumped through all these hoops to make the proposal via phone.
Thank you.
Because that was your sole option to propose, right?
That,
I mean, there was no face
or rowboat.
mailing the letter, the carrier pigeon. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because
they would shoot him down.
No, that's censored.
Mailing was an interesting thing because they would go through the mail.
Go through the mail.
Unless it's a diplomatic.
Unless it was in a diplomatic pouch, which this would not be because it was not a classified diplomatic document.
Right.
So it would have never made it. If it did, it would have been open and redacted. I mean, I used to get letters from my mother and my father that was pages missing, redacted,
But, to put it in perspective, though, that even though it was so hard, the effort was there, and it kind of... See, I didn't expect... First of all, I wasn't anticipating a phone call from him at all, because we hadn't spoken in 5 to 4 months. And then I get this...
Your daughter's stirring up the flames.
The reception, I know she is, and I'm not gonna
Jeez,
go
I
to
wonder
her.
where she gets that from.
I wonder where. But so the receptionist said, "Hey, Yonna, you have a phone call from the United States," and I was like, United States. I don't know who's gonna call me. And anyway, and so it was him. So I was totally dumbfounded, totally speechless.
And I pounced on it, and took advantage of the situation.
I couldn't even. It didn't register till afterwards what he was asking me and how I reacted to it. So it was meant to be.
Any regrets in 37 years?
Heck no.
Really?
No. You asked me this question all. I have no regrets.
I do ask you all the time.
How about this one from James
Yvonne.
Bryant?
Oh, okay.
He says, we have family in Hungary.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And we fly there quite often summertime when things are slow for us work-wise. This summer we are not for safety concerns, especially with little ones. He has the question for you, safety concerns at all on your end flying to Austria at this time with the war right next to the country? And then would you recommend anyone else fly to this area of Europe?
I have no fear. If I had any fear, I wouldn't be here. So as far as I'm concerned, if the good Lord wants to take me, then so be it. So the answer to that question is no, I don't have any fear. However, is a good amount of sensibility to it? Yeah, absolutely. It has traveled, but I'm trying to put it in perspective. Traveling in itself has changed tremendously over the past 37 years. I mean, I used to go home at least 3 times a year, and it was a totally different experience than it is now. So
way more people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People flying in pajamas, which don't get me started on that.
Yeah, so it's a different experience.
But
you have to be aware. Yeah, you have to.
But from a safety perspective,
yes.
It's actually used to be a lot worse, right? Back in the 80s, right? Particularly in Vienna. Go ahead and Google it on the Vienna airport.
Terrorism. There was quite a lot of terrorism.
So the flying in the 80s was, in my opinion, much worse than it is now. Right? They had a terrorist bombing inside the Vienna airport in the 80s, right? So it was, you didn't have the security you have now. You didn't have all this kind of great stuff. I think the question is, are you feel unsafe in Europe? Man, it's a hard thing for Yonna and I to answer because
I can't answer that question.
We're kind of used, we know how to navigate that kind of stuff. So if you feel unsafe, then it's unsafe, right? And our youngest daughter is watching. My oldest daughter, our oldest daughter,
She says, Dad, I'm hearing some excuses. Maybe it's time for a redo and a huge diamond.
Ooh. Oh, she is stirring the pot.
Stirring the
pot. I love it.
Doing the pot stirring.
There is a family inside joke or comment about that.
I'm gonna let that one alone.
I've only bought Yonna 2 pieces of jewelry in her life, in our marriage. One was, actually 3, I lied. I just bought one 3 pieces of jewelry.
You did.
The wedding band, which, by the way, was like $50, Canadian dollars. We bought an anniversary ring not too long ago, and I bought a little necklace that she's wearing now. And from my perspective, I would rather save that money and go on trips and go places and make memories so we can move forward.
So here's what I can tell you. That
she doesn't like that answer.
Both our girls have inherited sort of our traveling spirit, in a sense that our older daughter called yesterday and said, "Hey, Mom, what do you think about going to Europe for a month next year?" I said, "Sure. Let's do it."
For a month next year?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I said, "Sure."
You'll panic about this, but they're having all these riots in Paris and France.
Yeah.
And it's
I was watching one of the news channels. It was a motorcycle in a public square in Paris with like a 24-inch blade chainsaw attached to the motorcycle running, and the man was just doing circles in this square with the attached chainsaw running behind the motorcycle. Like literally, that was on the news.
So I don't want to pass shade on my French friends, because we love the French, but man, they ride over anything. There's
always a little revolution.
There's always a little revolution going on with the French.
I don't want to discredit though what
Jerry
said. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick.
But to answer the question is, I got a notice about some super cheap flights to Paris and super cheap hotel things, and I said to Jonas, "Hey, you want to go to Paris? Right? It's a great deal. Let's go to Paris, right? We can navigate this crap.
Yeah.
We've been there, done that. It'll be cheap to get there. The planes won't be so full. Restaurants won't be packed. Let's go go sneak out over there for a week."
I think it comes back to I think
he said Jerry won't give us permission.
The fear factor. I remember the fear factor when 9/11 happened here in the United States. And I mean, to this day, I remember my mom calling me on the day when this happened, and she said, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" I said, "Yeah, I am. I'm so worried about you." I said, "Don't worry about me. I'm in good shape." But what I was trying to get to is I remembered the then President George Bush saying, "If we let fear paralyze us, then we're giving in to what these bad, evil, devilish people are really trying to get accomplished." So I would say the sense of traveling to Europe at the moment, don't let fear stand in your way, but use good sound judgment on what
situational awareness.
Situational awareness.
Always be aware what's going on around you. Just like walking down the downtown mall, right? Situational awareness.
Absolutely. Comments coming in, guys. Keep them coming. We'll relay them live on air. We love the comments. So this is a good one. There's always a business person watching on the program.
Good.
Spencer asks, how is the economy? How is the euro conversion? An American coming over with some money, how will they do for a couple of weeks in Austria, in Hungary, and the countries you're talking about?
I couldn't tell you at the moment. I can only tell you 6 months ago when I was in Europe, when I was in Austria.
What is the exchange rate now?
I think we're not at par anymore, but a good opportunity. Really, good opportunity in a sense. But you also have to, what is your goal that you're trying to achieve?
1.0, it's about 9 cents more U.S. dollar, 9 U.S. cents per euro. So it costs you 109. We used to have a family joke. Every time we went over to Europe as a family,
the euro
spiked from like 1.10 to 1.5, right? 1.50. So, if you want to buy some dollars right now and Yonna and I plan a trip to Europe, why don't you go ahead and do this? We'll take 10% of the spread, right? Because as soon as
we're helping you out.
As soon as we land in Europe, the euro's going to go up over the dollar, and we'll do that. I'll never forget this. When the euro came around, Yonna's father was still alone. Yonna's dad was an international banker. He said, now this was, I can't remember when euro kicked in.
1991, I believe.
Wherever it was. He said, give me 10,000 US dollars. This is when the euro was like 88 cents to the dollar. So give me that, because it's going to spike up to 150. Of course, I didn't have 10,000 at the time. I said, no. Damn it, he was right. It spiked up. Could have done pretty well, but
Came
that
back down
euro,
again.
that currency market is a pretty risky thing. But right now it's 1.09. So, I mean, your dollar will go pretty much the same as where you're going here.
How about this one from Kelsey? Kelsey is watching. Kelsey is at Crozet. Let us know where you're watching here. She goes, I'm loving the show. I'm loving the pace of this program, and I'm loving the stories from Yonna. Can she put a typical day in Austria into perspective from all of us from morning until evening? That's a great question.
That's a wonderful question. I can tell you, so going back and going back home, because this is home, and I'm going home and I'm coming home. So that's another blessing I have. So I don't think it's any different than what I would do here. I just get up in the morning and
Coffee.
have my coffee, which really, truly, I have to honestly say, there's
Much
only
better.
3 things that are a little bit, I would say, different in Austria than they're here, and
Much
one of them
better.
is coffee.
Coffee's better in Austria?
Oh my God.
Yeah?
Just a tradition of
The
it.
whole,
Okay.
The whole
Vienna
ceremony.
created this whole cafe culture. That
Okay.
was started. What?
Well, the Turks
Yeah,
started
the Turks.
it.
Yeah.
So
that's
this goes anyway. So
What are the other 3? What are the other 2 things?
the bread,
The bread is better? Okay. And then the third?
it's just the Gemütlichkeit,
Well, you need to translate that.
So Gemütlichkeit means, in a sense, you are comfortable enough to go ahead and let the day happen and sit together and just basically talk about the day, talk about fun stuff, and just sit down and have a glass of wine and don't rush.
So the pace,
The pace,
of life
pace
is
is
way
the
slower.
pace is
Way
different.
slower.
Yeah, but to put it in perspective, this goes back to what I said before. You have the opportunity here to create your own pace and create your own wealth. Where back home it's just a little bit different because
The pace is kind of created for you?
Yes,
That's a great observation.
Yes.
Here you can set your own tempo.
yeah. Here's all about
There,
what
the
you-
tempo is set. It's very hard to get outside the tempo. And if you're visiting for 2 weeks or you're visiting for a month, that's one thing. People ask us all the time, well, how come you don't buy a place down in St. Martin, which is France, right? We technically go to France on that end of it. And it's great for a week or 2, right? And the pace is super slow and all this kind of great stuff. But the kind of folks that we are, when that gets into the 2 or 3 month mark,
Yeah, you're like,
we would just go nuts, right?
But so
the
that's
pace-
that's really truly the 3 differences. And everybody has to go to work, obviously, and so the work pace is 8 to 4, 8 to 5, and people do take lunch, and I do very much enjoy that. But what I really truly enjoy is just the fact
I
that
don't think I've taken lunch in 16 years.
well,
That's amazing.
So that's really, believe it or not, that's one of the things that I noticed again, that even in Europe nowadays, lunch that used to be you go at 12 o'clock and you come back at 1:30 and that also has changed quite a bit over the 37 years.
So the pace of life is extremely different.
It's different. Yeah.
Very different, which
Yeah.
is great, right?
Yeah.
It's great to go visit and experience it, but it comes with it's a little bit of perils. So
Well, her question, a day in Austria, start to finish.
Start to finish, coffee. I guess go to work if I have work. If I'm on vacation, I definitely want to go ahead and head somewhere where nice parks, meet some friends, go for lunch in the afternoon. I very much enjoyed being in Vienna again and seeing all the museums, go to the theater, go to the opera, pick up my sister at 5 o'clock in the afternoon after she's done with work, and then we go out and go to, at that time October was still nice outside, so we could sit outside and go to one of the beer gardens, wine gardens, or
Sounds awesome.
yeah, I don't think it's really any different than what I would be doing here.
let's
Just
see how
at
much a flight costs.
it's
He's actually looking.
It's just
I know.
it's just what you make it. So
So, and the thing about the cultural difference.
it's a cultural difference.
So if you ask an American, so if I ask you, Jerry, so how you doing? You're gonna say I'm okay.
Yeah.
You ask an Austrian or a Germanic-speaking person,
You find out how
you
they're
will
doing.
find out. You
How
better
they're
be
doing.
prepared to listen for a half an hour because they will tell you exactly how they're doing.
But
Right.
it's endearing in a way. It's
Yeah.
endearing.
Your daughter asked,
Uh-huh.
and she's watching in Seattle right now. We have 4 states watching,
No,
including
wonderful.
Seattle's finest right now. Mom, how was it for you to adjust from a society that values rest to here where rest is viewed as lazy?
Ooh,
Oh,
she
boy,
started
Yvonne.
hot today.
She's
like it.
she's on a
She's I see the fruit does the apple doesn't fall from the tree here, and I also think she would make a fantastic contributor to Real Talk with Keith Smith because I can just tell from the comments, and I think this is probably a microcosm of both your daughters here. They have things to say.
Oh,
yeah.
thank God.
They have
Thank
things to
God.
say, and that's exactly what you
Thank
want
God.
for a talk show is things
Yeah,
to say.
absolutely.
But that's how we raised them.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, the thing is so coming back to Yvonne's question, I really cannot answer that question because I don't want to call anybody lazy. So I think it's just a matter of how you structure your day and what you want to get accomplished and what goals you have. I can tell you there are days when my goal is to really try to go ahead and remember that it's okay not to work. Let me put it this way: relax, rest. And there's days when, I have a certain goal in mind I want to get accomplished and I'm going to go after it. And I can tell you that both our children in that respect, both of them have a talent that they can work hard, run, but they can also rest. And I think that's a good thing. Could I rest more than 24 hours? Probably not yet. So that's...
They love what they do.
I can be idle for a day, but that's it.
Yeah, and you guys, I've had the pleasure of knowing this fantastic family for almost 5 years. They've made their passion their profession, and their profession may be real estate, and I don't want to speak for them, but their passion is truly human connection and helping people.
Relationships.
The
Relationships.
vehicle just happens to be real estate.
Correct.
But both of them love to help people and make human connection. That's what motivates them and inspires them every morning. I mean,
It makes a difference in the world. It
Yeah.
really does.
just your vehicle is real estate to do that.
Oh, and we're very blessed we can do that,
Yeah,
to be honest
right.
with you.
And kind of back to we've witnessed and seen history and been part of the world in different times and different things. It puts you in a different perspective, right? Honestly, like I said, if we take care of the person,
The
then
rest
The rest
the rest
will
takes care of itself.
100%.
Just take care of the family.
And it's funny, once regardless of the field of profession or even the nonprofit sector, once folks realize that, things become much more simple. You take care of the folks that you're interacting with and the rest follow suit. Carly, is it
Chapo.
Casapo?
Chapo.
Chapo.
Carly. Oh,
She
Carly,
says,
Carly.
Hi, Smith family, with
love
a
Carla.
bunch of heart emojis after it. Jerry Russell is absolutely loving what she is seeing right now.
Serves
Thank
good
you,
people.
Jerry.
Your daughter says, I know Mom and I both struggle with resting and not
Yes.
feeling lazy. She's watching the program, as I've indicated, in Seattle, Tennessee, North Carolina, Richmond, Northern Virginia, the D.C. area, Arlington, Appomattox, and Williamsburg on the show, along with much of Central Virginia on today's program. If you have a question for the Smiths, put them in the feed. We will relay it live on air.
Thank
I
you.
got one for you. How long have you guys been together?
30
Not married, together.
38 years.
Let's call it 38, not quite 38 years.
Almost 38 years together. Talk to us about the evolution of your love over 38 years. They work together. They are each other's best friends. They are rarely separated for extended periods of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm nervous that I'm going away for a week without
When
her.
Yonna goes to, say, Connecticut to help her oldest daughter with her 2 wonderful kids, Keith comes in here and the man is literally jittery. He's like where's my wife? What's going on here? What am I going to do? Like the first 12 hours, he seems pretty cool with it. And then I see him the next day because he does Real Talk with Keith Smith Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I see him on a Monday, by Wednesday, it is a different Keith. He is, I need Yonna.
Well, I have to say, though, it's not any different with me. So it's surprisingly enough.
Really?
No, it's
maybe she hides it better than you do.
No, I don't. I don't think I do. But I have to say that that's the journey. That's the part of the journey that I so much enjoy. Is it always roses and puppies? No.
Right.
Rainbows, puppies.
Roses and puppies works. That works.
This is Yonnaism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
I love
if
the
there's
Yonnaisms.
one,
My favorite, even turkeys can fly.
Flying in her, but that's I do not take credit for that. That was actually Brian Buffini who said that.
That was my favorite
but
one.
I adopted it.
So we do go to couples therapy.
That's great.
And we got a Friday.
There's a tune-up every 10 years, every 10 to 12 years is
do-
very helpful.
We do tune-ups every once in a while because we're together so often. Sometimes we forget how to speak to one another and all that stuff. So we do. We got one on Friday, session on Friday. This is the same therapist. The last time we did this, leaned over and went, "You know what you guys would make? No, a really great sitcom. Topic for a sitcom." But
I think they're seeing it.
I think they're
right
seeing
now.
it.
This is the pilot.
This is actually very
This
reserved.
is the pilot. I know it is. I know this is reserved.
But you know something?
Multiple people, including Kevin Yancey and Chad Wood, have said Keith is on his best behavior right now. Literally, they're putting this on the feed.
He is. He's so the brownie points, right? Trying to get some brownie points.
And I'm sitting a bit too close to her, and her legs kick me under the table.
But you know, so it's all about the journey, and you know, being truthful and honest with each other, I think, is the other part. And sometimes you just have to learn how to communicate better, and sometimes you have to learn to balance. You know, and that's really part of the journey that I truly enjoy.
So the challenges that we have now in our lives, frankly, is I can't hear.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a challenge.
So it becomes a challenge, right? And my hearing is getting rapidly worse. Matter of fact, so much so we're going to go and learn sign language together because eventually I'm not going to be able to hear on that end of it. And I'm only really good with one hand signal for sign language.
What is it?
It's my age. It's my IQ.
Okay, is this the one finger salute over there?
Yeah, my IQ.
Okay.
One.
No,
The
it's
one
the
finger
vict-
salute.
it's the
Neil
vic-
Williamson, hello.
Hey,
It's
Neil.
the victory sign. What are you talking about?
The one finger salute.
That's not.
I knew that was the one.
That's not the victory sign, honey. Oh God. So I was asked the other day, what was the secret for all these years of marriage? And I think I may have said this on the show, and I truly mean this. Marry, be with, wake up every morning, whatever you want to call it, with somebody who makes you a better person every day.
I second that.
She makes me a better person every day.
So do you.
Yonna makes me a better person every day. God knows I need a lot of help in that department. But I think the biggest struggle we have right now in communication is my lack of hearing, and then this thing that I have to get better at. So I'm going to profess in front of everybody here. The thing I got to get better at is when Yonna says something that isn't quite right because she's using a Yonna-ism, I correct her. And I should stop doing that. That's not, I know what she means, and then I just need to move forward with it. But sometimes it's hard for me not to do that and correct her. So that's what I need to get better at.
So I thank you, but there's no reason for you to profess that. So we're
I'm
working on.
professing it in front of the whole
I love it.
world.
I love it.
That's my place I need to get better at.
I would love
Everything else I'm pretty awesome
I
with.
would love
Absolutely.
I would love to hear Yonna's answer to this question here, Keith.
I'm trying not to let her speak here. Have you not noticed that?
Yeah, I can see that. No, but I have to tell you, the secret really to, in my mind, to a working relationship is not just the two of us, it's just also who's around us.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to say I'm extremely fortunate, and that goes back to the 4th of July theme. I'm not fortunate, I'm blessed. His family adopted me, literally adopted me, in a sense that they could have very easily said, who is this crazy young girl that thinks she can steal my son's heart? But they were very embracive. and it took me in, taught me everything that I really need to know about a family, right? Grow as a family, grow as a wife, grow as a business partner, grow as a very proud American, in a sense that I can sit here today and talk to you about happiness, motivation, personal wealth, that we can go ahead and make a difference in somebody's life.
I love
right?
it. You are maybe the proudest American that I know, and that right there says a lot. And it's interesting, the immigrants that risked everything and gave up everything are often the proudest Americans out there. My mom, who literally came, you know what, today marks 65 years. I got to call her.
Wow.
Lauren, please remind me to call.
Wow.
65 years that my mom came from Cuba.
Amazing.
Today.
Today.
Wow.
Is the 65-year
Now, there's a
anniversary.
story right there.
65
there's
years.
a story right there.
Immigrants that give everything up to come to this country are often the proudest Americans out there.
Oh, very much
And
so.
you're going to love this. You're going to have to help me with this name. This is on LinkedIn. Natasha. She's watching from the Warsaw metropolitan area, which you see there. She just gave you the hearts emoji on LinkedIn. So we have
Back to
Warsaw
Beautiful city, by the way.
watching your story here
Thank you.
on LinkedIn. But speak to the
Thank you.
proudest American comment. You bleed
I can't,
red, white, and blue.
I really cannot put it in words other than I hope everybody has the opportunity to really value what this country has to offer, and look at the small little things. Look at and I have to remind myself of that every day. I am allowed to go out of my front door, breathe the air, and do what I'm destined to do, and nobody can tell me any different. Nobody can say, no, you cannot go and talk to the neighbors, or no, you cannot make that phone call, or no, it's freedom.
So put it in perspective, back when we were behind the Iron Curtain, so if you lived in downtown Charlottesville, your papers would say you live in downtown Charlottesville. You could not go to Fluvanna County if your papers did not say you could go to Fluvanna County. And there would be militia, police,
Yes.
military, checkpoints all around. And they would stop you, and they would check your papers. And if your papers didn't allow that, they would turn around and send you back. You couldn't, if your papers said, let's go down to Virginia Beach, and you didn't allow you to go to Virginia Beach, you didn't go to Virginia Beach. This is real world things that happen, and we come from this perspective of that kind of world on it. But you're 100% right. They call it Buffini. Brian Buffini is an immigrant from Ireland, and he wrote a book called The Immigrant Edge. You should read
The Immigrant Edge. I think I
You
gave
gave me
you
a
the
copy.
book. I gave you
Yeah,
the book.
I think I have it right there.
Yep.
Legitimately.
So it's about how, from a business perspective, how immigrants tend to do super well in this country is because they kind of get it, and they put the 110% in, and they come from someplace else.
Well, so much was sacrificed.
Very much
That's
so.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Very
because
much
so
so.
much was sacrificed, not a minute is taken for granted.
That's exactly
And
right.
see the opportunity and take the opportunity and go after it.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, and that's the spirit, I would say. This is the spirit that I can tell you, as long as I have a breath in me, I will go ahead and be the one that says, don't take anything for granted. You have a freedom. You have the opportunity for the pursuit of happiness. Like the preamble said of the Declaration of Independence, it's right there. The footprint is
The
right
preamble.
there. Yeah.
It's 5:17 p.m. in Warsaw, Poland right now.
There you
and
go.
the Smiths are on the computer.
Well, have yourself a nice shot of Polish potato vodka, which is my favorite vodka, and enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much.
Isn't the internet just so amazing?
When
It
it's
just
you,
makes
when it's-
everything so close, so like, what's the word? Connected and intimate and communicative.
then it's the other side, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I just do hope, and I really want to kind of leave it at that I hope that they find peace in the Ukraine
Oh my gosh.
My God, I do hope so. Because
Who ever anticipated that
it's
this war would be going on
but-
for this long?
But the testament to that is also what
It's not
this young lady just said from Poland. Thank God, and coming back to what you said, thank God for the internet in that respect, that some of this stuff is getting out a lot faster than it used to.
For sure.
So I can tell you that half
Because it could motivate folks or give them a glimpse
Absolutely.
of what it could be.
And it also gives them the inspiration and the courage to do what they're doing. I mean, my kudos to Poland and to anybody. I mean, there was a young Marine yesterday. I didn't tell you the story, but there's a young Marine who volunteered in Ukraine and got injured quite severely. And so you see the commitment from everybody really trying to go ahead and help this country, including Poland, by the way.
Poland is on that.
So my
It's really
my
much
thanks.
worse than Austria. I mean, they border,
Yeah.
and
Got folks watching.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't want to get political on it, but I do want to give my kudos and my respect to anybody who's willing to go ahead and help that fight to peace, not help that fight to war, but really get them to figure out a way where they can stop the fighting, because it's awful.
Todd Rath is in upstate
Hey, Todd.
New York. He has this. You're going to have to help me with this one.
I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not sure what
But thank you.
MADUFKA
I do not know what that
means. Maybe I'll do, Todd, give us a little more insight into that. He's in upstate New York watching the program celebrating the 4th of July. Let me see if I can just copy this word and put it into Google Translate.
You're right.
When I really-
They used to.
Oh, it's a Slavic honey-based alcoholic beverage very similar to mead, but it is made much faster, approximately 1 month of fermentation.
Boy, that's
And Todd is the
powerful.
owner of Blue Toad Hard Cider and a former brewmaster, like beer maker himself, still probably a beer maker. Todd, I love when you watch the
So
program.
mead's
Thank you.
made from honey, right?
It is. I thought so.
I believe mead
The
is made
potato
from-
vodka my Polish friends make is
Yeah.
what that
Yes.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take notice of that. That's for sure.
Well,
Once Yonna got on the show here, the worldly nature and the cosmopolitan nature of Real Talk with Keith Smith went to a completely different level. Because I personally am only good at 3 things here, and it's not anything cosmopolitan or words like this. Yonna speaks how many languages?
2.
no,
3.
No, more than that.
No, I speak 3 languages. Interestingly enough, because you just
speak
said about 4th of July being celebrated in Europe, there is a couple of countries in Europe that celebrate the 4th of July, believe it or not.
Really?
Yep.
Tell us about that. I did not know that.
There is.
Tell them about the Freedom Tower. That's
Yeah,
a great
I'm gonna go ahead and just. Countries like Denmark, England, Norway, Portugal, and Sweden all take part in hosting commemorations for the holidays. So this is part of to honor the many citizens who emigrated to the U.S., but also as a move to attract tourists, obviously, yes.
The Freedom Tower thing, that's an interesting stat. I did not know that till you told me
Did
that
you
this
know
morning.
that the Freedom Tower in New York was designed to be 1,776 feet tall?
No.
So they rebuilt the Freedom Tower to 1776.
One of the
awesome.
most spectacular features of the building is its height, which represents the year America declared independence from Great Britain. So it's pretty interesting. So these are just fun stats that I found.
This is a great question.
Yes.
Great question from Matthew. Is the United States I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't like how he put it. Is the United States the gold standard for Europe still today?
It probably in
Has it lost some of its
my
luster?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't think so. But that goes from somebody who, in that respect, really tries to keep the politics out and really look at the spirit and look at the human nature of this whole thing. I think the opportunities are still there. And again, it's what you make. It's your journey on where you want to go, where you want to be, and what goals you have. Is it harder? I would say yes. I think you have more competition. I think I have more competition now than I had 37 years ago. At that time, I did not really know what exactly I wanted to accomplish. Now I know. I think it's still the same.
I mean, the best way to look at that is to figure out how many people are trying to immigrate
Yeah, I mean,
from that. And you'll find out when you go to the naturalization ceremony tomorrow. And I really think if you have time, people should do that.
between 50 and
When you look
70.
through the list
Yep.
of people of where they're immigrating from, a lot of them is from Europe. You know, you would expect some war-torn countries, which you get, but most of them are Europeans, French, English,
Russians.
Russians, which is technically Eastern Europe, right? But from that continent, you'll see most of the folks are immigrating from that. And on Friday, I'll bring the actual list of the people, and we'll do an unofficial check mark on what region had the most. And I think you'll find Europe will have the most folks immigrating, which
Yeah.
kind of answers that question.
So the keynote speaker tomorrow is President Ryan.
Yeah.
So he will be there. And we've-
I'm excited to hear what Jim has to say.
yeah, very much so.
Todd says,
Mm-hmm.
I went to school in the Midwest with many Chicago folks. Some were first generation from Poland,
Mm-hmm.
and these folks were some of the greatest, most hardworking people I have ever met.
Oh, no.
Dave Fafara, owner of Shenandoah Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
a Chicago Polak, and he is one of the greatest, most hardworking people that I know. Dave routinely watches the program. I see him quite often.
But all immigrants from all around the world, the actual immigrants are just, they work their tails off because they understand what they can do. They're trying to work their tails off for the next generation, so the next generation has the opportunities that maybe they didn't have. But by and far, and I think that'll be a great test on Friday, plus all these numbers that I would love to get to on Friday.
We'll talk real estate on Friday for
But
those that are asking.
I don't want to bring anybody down today.
Yeah, we got a lot of people asking about real estate. We'll talk real estate on Friday.
Yeah.
Keith is at a funeral on Wednesday.
We're at
Yes.
both Yonna and I are at a funeral at Arlington
Cemetery.
To see dear friend of ours buried.
Sloan says this,
David?
culture shock for Yonna going from Austria and Bulgaria to Fluvanna County?
Well, there was a New York stop in the
There
middle.
was New York in between.
But was
so-
that a cup of coffee though in New York? Was that extended or just a cup
It
of
was
coffee?
a year.
No, we were
Okay.
there for about a
Maybe,
year.
For about a
maybe it
year.
was a cup of coffee
Yeah.
and a shot.
Okay. So maybe it was like a latte grande. Culture shock?
I don't think it was a cultural shock. No, I think it was an adjustment in a sense that
What did I tell you when we got married?
the vastness of this country was
Yeah.
for me, that was like, wow. That's coming from tiny little Austria or Bulgaria to this vastness of country. That was surprising. I don't think it was a shock.
Because you guys
I
went
didn't
there,
have to
was it
say-
87?
We got married 86. We
Came here
moved 87.
So Fluvanna in 1987 was very different than Fluvanna 2023.
Oh.
So Fluvanna 87 was not much different than where Yonna's home place is.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yonna's
isolated
home
and
place,
secluded.
how many houses in Meissen? 33, something like that?
No, it's about 100, 120, roughly.
And hasn't changed in hundreds of years. The brewery, 750 years old?
Yeah, it was older than that. It's over 1,000 years old.
And
The brewery,
The
1,000
brewery
years old?
was 1,000 years
They must make
Continually-
good beer.
They do.
continually operated.
do.
This has been.
What are the
like,
beer types?
You have ale. You have a little bit of a hoppy beer. I mean, you're talking
Stouts, lagers?
lagers.
lagers.
Yeah, a lot of
Not
lagers.
Not stouts.
No stouts?
Yeah.
Any IPAs, or is that just kind of a...
IPAs are coming. Yes,
Yeah.
they sort of
Seems like
started the
IPAs
Piker
are
Brewery.
everywhere.
They define it as Helles. What is a Helles?
No,
Helles
Helles is a lager.
is a lager.
It's a very
so
light
it's
beer.
mostly lagers and
Okay.
all that kind of great. But the brewery is, I didn't think it was over 1,000, but yeah, so the brewery's over 1,000 years. Been
I don't think it was a cultural shock.
continuously operated by them.
That's amazing.
I
And
really
we're
don't
like,
think so.
Tomorrow's what, 247?
247. Yeah.
Right, just put that in perspective, right? There's a brewery that's been operating for over 1,000 years, and we're hitting 247. So we got a little way to go.
Got a little ways to go. I love it. You guys are amazing. This is a dream come true, a show like this. How about some closing thoughts from the fabulous Yonna Smith?
Happy 4th of July. Enjoy it. Embrace your neighbors, your friends, your family. Value the freedom that you have, and just have fun. Enjoy the fireworks. Which we have yet to see.
Somebody fell asleep.
But
That would be-
Forrest the dog.
No, that
yeah,
would be me.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful country, really is, that I can call my home.
Shotzi, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Absolutely.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
I
This
love
is a
it.
breeze. It's
Yeah,
11:30. Hour and
seriously?
15 minutes,
Oh my
right?
Lord,
Flies
yeah.
by.
And I'm well behaved.
Yeah.
I think all the viewers can tell.
I'm excited about Friday because I think we're gonna break a little bit of news on Friday, and we'll leave it for Friday about some of these stats that I've been crunching all weekend, and hopefully after we'll have our post-production meeting and get all our slides up so on Real Talk with Keith Smith for it. But this is going to be a bit eye-opening come Friday on these stats, so I'm excited. So that's what we call it, a tease.
It's a tease.
I'm teasing for
It's a tease right there.
for Friday.
RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. The show is presented by Yes Realty Partners. You see what Yonna and Keith are all about. If you're
Happy
looking
4th.
for someone to help you get to the finish line in a closing or the finish line that we call life, Keith and Yonna Smith are who you should contact. Judah Wigcower keeps us live on air. I Love CVille show is up in about an hour. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Happy 4th, everyone. Thank you.
Tell us when the mics are off here.